Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast, sort of synopsis or overview in this series, the Phelemonix involvement. This is an RPSG and Lipostics collaborative. It's another Storm Lipostics production, and this is the Shientist. In and around several aspects that had taken place between 2019 and 20, sort of in between, more specifically around March, between March 2019 and March 2000 around March 2020, and so and also where these sort of these sort of aspects took place sort of in collaboration through the RPSG, the Renal Patient Support Group, the RPSG, wherein there was sort of a collaborative effort in sort of online or webinar sort of a sort of a webinar series that took place. In March 2019, there was a webinar. Originally, there was a webinar that took place in and around COVID-19 and renal disease and the immunosuppressed, and also COVID-19 isolation and what does it really mean for the immunocompromised. Webinar in around renal biomarkers. There was a webinar in around laboratory investigations in and around renal disease, and it was later in 2019, three sort of workshops took place. And all of these took place in collaboration with and between the RPSG and KDARs, where there was a sort of a co-developing workshops aligned to co-developing topic tagging in and around pertaining to sort of educational initiatives between the two organizations, and thereafter at Bristol University in and around March 2020, there was an effort where the Nephrotic Syndrome Trust, or NEST, excuse me, where NEST organized a workshop in and around looking at nephrotic syndrome, and also wherein at the particular workshop there was a sort of an opportunity to look at a sort of health literacy and renal disease, and wherein there was a workshop in and around this as well. So in this audio podcast, I thought I'd provide a sort of overview around sort of these particular these particular webinars and sort of workshop sort of aspects that were in line and were in regard to academic research, wherein there was also a focus in and around what has been referred to as patient and public involvement research, also known as in the literature as a participatory research. And so in this synopsis, in this overview and this synopsis as well, I thought I'd provide a sort of a snapshot, if you like, of some images to sort of to highlight or iterate the sort of RPSG and KDARs RPSG and KDARs sort of collaborative efforts wherein for example, in this image, in this slide or this image, is where there was a workshop. One of the workshops took place in a high street at a high street venue, and where there was an effort to look at different aspects surrounding the co-developing of co-developing topic tagging sort of topic tagging educational aspects or initiative through between the RPSG and KDARs organizations, and then it was also in June 2019 at the same venue an RPSG and KDARs workshop took place, looking at co-developing sort of topic tagging sort of education initiative aspects between the two organizations. And in October 2019, there was another sort of co-developing topic tagging education initiative that took part as a workshop between RPSG and KDARs in October 2019, and this was at a venue in the north part of east part of the United Kingdom. In March, in and around March 2020, the Nephrotic Syndrome Trust, NEST organization, or NEST organization, sort of co-developed an effort with the academic and laboratory team at Bristol University, looking at sort of nephrotic syndrome related research at Bristol University, and wherein RPSG and KDARs was in part represented, and also where the organization wherein there was an opportunity at the Nephrotic Syndrome Trust workshop that took place, was an opportunity to to talk about highlight aspects of sort of health literacy and renal disease in and around in and around aspects surrounding sort of general nephrology, and also aligned to sort of public health as well. And so, thank you for tuning in this audio podcast and this series, Phelemonix Involvement. This was an audio podcast, synopsis, wherein there was an wherein there is an RPSG and Lipostics collaborative. It's another Storm Lipostics production. So, thank you for tuning in.